Good afternoon, and welcome to today's ECRM Supplier Webcast, Building Your Beauty Business with Wakefern, sponsored by MarketTrack. I'm Joe Tarnowski, Vice President of Content for ECRM, and I'll be your moderator for today's presentation. Before we get started, there are a couple of housekeeping items I need to cover. First, in order to have the best possible viewing experience, we recommend that you view the webcast window in full screen mode, with pop-ups enabled and your system sound turned on. If you need technical assistance at any point during the webcast, first try clicking the F5 button to refresh your browser. If that doesn't help, you can reach out to us with a note through the webcast console, and someone from our technical team will assist you. Today's presentation will run 1 hour. We'll lead off with Tracy Grigorski, Senior Vice President of Marketing for MarketTrack, who will give a 10-minute presentation on cross-media trends in advertising and promotions that are driving beauty sales aimed at the millennial and multicultural market. Following this, we'll have our feature presentation by Chris Skyers, Vice President of HBC for Wakefern, as well as Wakefern Beauty Category Managers Neetu Oneja and Amanda Hoffman. This should take about 30 minutes, and we will wrap up the webcast with a 10 to 15-minute live Q&A session. You can post your questions at any time during the webcast using the dashboard. If we happen to run out of time before we get to all the questions live, we'll do our best to answer them via email. Finally, if you miss any portion of the presentation or would like to share it with a colleague, we'll have a link to the on-demand webcast on ECRM's Content Gateway. We'll also send you this link in an email following the event. Now, let's get started. Wakefern is the nation's largest retailer-owned cooperative and is comprised of 50 member companies who own and operate retail supermarkets across 9 states under the banners of ShopRite, Rite, and the Fresh Grocer. The company operates over 2.5 million square feet of grocery and non-food warehousing, and its wholesale client base benefits from the company's extensive portfolio of services, including innovative technology, private label development, and best-in-class procurement practices. During today's webcast, Wakefern will discuss its brand message and strategy and provide guidance on how suppliers can most effectively conduct business discussions to help build a better partnership with the co-op, its retailer members, and the unique communities served by each. Among the topics to be discussed are Wakefern's strategies for connecting with millennial and multicultural beauty consumers, protocols and procedures to follow in dealing with its buyers and category managers, and best practices for engaging Wakefern to develop a brand message that's consistent while at the same time meeting the needs of the broad range of communities served by Wakefern's member retailers. So now it's my pleasure to welcome our first presenter, Tracy Grigorski from MarketTrack. Tracy, take it away.
Thanks so much, Joe. I'm really excited to be here today and talk to everyone about some of the trends that we're seeing. I think one theme that you'll see throughout this presentation is a lot of the change that's happening within the industry is based on shopper behavior. So they are really in the driver's seat, and they are creating the need for a lot of adaptation of old strategies and new ways of thinking about things. One of the things that we always take a look at is the change in the actual shopping process itself. What used to be a very linear sort of process has now become much more fragmented. So there are a lot more inputs into what people are buying and where they're shopping than there ever used to be before. We do a fair amount of shopper surveys, and I'll get into those in a minute, to support some of the things that we're trying to help our clients solve from a business issue perspective. One of the things that's driving a lot of this change is that everyone is connected constantly, and so that they're looking for information and deals both before and during their shopping trips. In addition, 70% of shoppers say that they're using more than 3 media types to give input into where they're going to shop and what they're going to buy. That's significant, because what used to be a very sort of single-minded approach in getting circular messaging out, now you have a lot more opportunity to communicate with your shoppers and your consumers through other mechanisms. And that happens throughout buying process. The other element, and this is the more startling one of these three statistics, which is shoppers just aren't loyal. They're really willing to switch stores, switch brands at a rate of about 80% if given the right incentive to do so. So that's fairly significant. And I'll get into the details around some of the statistics that we derive from our shopper insights, as well as who we survey and the types of groups that we focus in on. But first, just a little bit about MarketTrack. What we do as an organization is we collect and monitor all of the different communication resources that are at people's disposal to really reach their target audiences. And so what we look at in our data is a total 360-degree view of the landscape. This is critical to people's success because it gives visibility into all of the things that are playing a role in people's decision-making process today. The way we help our clients is we provide that information through either a syndicated database or also through custom reporting. And so any and all of these media types can be monitored and tracked in a number of ways. In addition to that, to really give some dimension to the things that we're getting asked in terms of our 1,700 clients that we serve, we want to often go back to the actual shoppers themselves and the consumers themselves and ask questions throughout the year. We conduct surveys 6 times a year so that we can compare year-over-year trends of 1,000 primary household shoppers each time to really get those deep insights into what they are using and what the different mechanisms are that they're considering as they go through that shopping journey. So one of the things that we've seen in our most recent survey is that there's a pretty big distinction between what people are using for planning their trip versus the more in-the-moment sort of tactics. So you can see from this view, there's a lot of the more traditional means of communicating with audiences that people indicate that they're using at a high rate. Print, websites, email, TV, all very traditional media types that are more of a planning sort of mechanism that people are using to figure out where they're going to buy. Now, that changes a bit when you look at some of the newer media that people are using as well. And these are more used in the moment. So there's opportunity to capitalize on that in that there's different mechanisms and levers you can pull throughout the entire purchase journey to reinforce your messaging and value proposition, but then offer incentives that align with a shopper's needs at the appropriate time. In addition to that, what we wanted to look at was some of the shifts that are happening in terms of people's in-store versus online shopping behaviors. And you can see from this view that people indicated that they are definitely shopping more online than they were in the past, which is something to consider when you're thinking about the media mix and the different types of communications that you're sending to your shoppers. You can see some of it is holding steady in terms of the amount of in-store shopping that is occurring. But really, at the end of the day, both of these sorts of trips are very important in different and significant ways. One of those ways is how often people are actually transacting when they're going online versus in-store. And you can see that there's a high degree of conversion when people actually make a trip to the store versus online. So there's a fair amount of browsing going on when people are going online to make purchases, whereas when they make a trip to the store, it appears that they are much more likely to make an actual purchase. In addition, we wanted to find out, with the propensity that people have to shop in-store, if there's any sort of changes occurring in their buying behavior in-store versus online. And one of the questions always becomes, and I think that this is something that we hear a lot from our clients and that they hear from their customers and shoppers, is the difference and disparity between in-store and online pricing, and really what is that tipping point for shoppers to make a different decision. And you can see there's still a very high rate of people who are preferring to shop in store, given all things being equal. If price is no factor, they still prefer to go in store. However, when you're thinking about incentivizing them to make a different choice or potentially to maybe transact online, you can see it doesn't actually take that much for them to consider switching that behavior. So 20%, 10%, you have a fair amount of the audience, almost 50% of the audience saying at a rate of 20% or less, they are willing to change their behavior and buying patterns and shift to an online sort of conversion. We also wanted to look at the differences in age groups in terms of people purchasing consumable goods online. And so we wanted to look at the different demographic groups and how that shakes out from, how they're looking at things online and how they're actually transacting. So the top two groups, the millennials and part of Gen X, are definitely more likely to make purchases online for these types of goods. You can see it starts to drop off a little bit after that. The reasons why are very interesting, and some of them intuitive. Saving time is a big thing for everyone, but also some people perceive that you can save money by buying consumables online. Another trend that we wanted to call out was the use of mobile in-store. So over half of the people we surveyed said that they definitely use their mobile device while they're shopping in store, but we wanted to drill into that to see what exactly they are doing with their phones while they're in store. And in a lot of cases, it comes down to looking for more discounts or deals, in-store coupons, using retailers' apps. And so there's opportunity there to communicate with your audience, and I think you're going to hear a little bit more about this later in Wakefern's presentation about a synergistic approach to sending frequent communications across all media types to really start to hone in on all opportunities that you have to communicate your value to your shopper. Also, we take a look at things like macro trends over time in terms of promotions happening online, in print, email, social media, et cetera. And one of the things that we're seeing is there is a very big increase in the amount of promotions that are hitting shoppers in the online space, specifically for grocery. So this just shows a 24-month view of the increase that's occurring when you look at food and HBC. As you can see, people are looking to incentivize their shopper base by offering these deals online because they realize that's where people are today. Another very useful tactic, one of the kind of old school workhorses of marketing, is email communications, and we're seeing a fair amount of increase there as well. 43% year over year for the same time frame to take a look at how shoppers are being pushed communications to either transact in the store with additional offers or incentives, or in some cases communicate other value in the form of recipes or other offers and savings. So why does all this matter? It really comes down to coming at your promotional and advertising planning from a place of taking a look at the entire landscape and making sure that you understand what's happening across all media types. And so that really leads to increased optimization and at the end of the day, more ROI on your investment as it relates to those advertising and promotions that you're placing. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Joe.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. Great information. I did have a follow-up question for you before I hand it off to Chris. With all the different ways in which consumers can get access to information, is there one particular strategy over another that you might recommend for converting shoppers?
It's really about identification of who your shopper is, first and foremost, and then making sure that you have a solid place and plan to go ahead and have those mechanisms that are going to most effectively communicate. So it's about synthesizing our efforts across those media types and making sure that you're constantly monitoring, measuring, and then adjusting as necessary.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again for your presentation. And now I would like to introduce our featured presenter for today, or presenters for today, Chris Skyers and the Wakefern team. Chris, take it away.
Great, thanks, Joe. Hi, folks. Just want to thank everyone for being on the call today because I think it's a very important topic. I want you all to relax and think of this as listening to a team talk about their brand and how can we impress our brand on your brands, because it really is about, in terms of looking at where the consumer is going, it's making sure that we have the portfolio of items that reflect the communities in which we serve. So we are making a plea to you to say, you have brands that connect with the community, and how do you bring those brands to life in our stores? So really take it from that standpoint. I know historically, we are close to a $16 billion organization. We've dealt with a lot of large manufacturers, and you may think that, but I really think that the brands that are having reach with our shoppers are the mid to small size brands that in a lot of cases we don't have access to, or we don't have a deep understanding of those brands. And that's what we're here to talk about today. How do we get a deeper understanding of your brands so we can bring them to life in a better format? So I'll go through a little bit about our organization. You may or may not know this, but I'll go through this, and it's kind of like the standard few slides, and then I'll talk a little bit about our purpose, and then the team will take it away in terms of how to reach us or how to reach your brands with our consumers. So a little note, we're the largest food retailer in the metro New York area, largest privately held employer in the state of New Jersey, second to St. Barnabas. St. Barnabas is second. Third largest food wholesaler, and a new one, 65th largest retailer in the world, and 17th. I think it's actually 16 shortly with the acquisition or the merger of Walgreens and Rite Aid will be number 16 going forward. So that's a pretty nice number to have. What you may not know is this is across all channels. We're the 5th largest online grocer. That's including drug, mass, and food. We're the 5th largest online grocer, and that's a lot to think about when you're thinking about a regional grocer being the 5th largest online seller of groceries in the country. So that's a number that's new. The largest retailer in the world is actually after us. So if you think about it in that context, we got into the online business early through the leadership of our president, and I think we've continued to show some significant gain in that area. So I'll talk about that in a bit. On total retail sales, just approaching $16 billion with $15.7 billion in sales last year. A little bit about us. We operate about 4 million square feet of warehouse space. We have 9 facilities, so we're self-distributing. We've opened up 7 facilities to kind of work with the flow of our volume over the last, since 2010. We even have our own banana ripening facility that we're extremely proud of, but it just shows that we have the logistics capability to move with our shoppers. A little bit about our footprint. We operate on the 4 banners: ShopRite, PriceRite, Fresh Grocer, and new to the portfolio, Dearborn Farms. There's 1 store. It's a pretty cool store. It kind of looks like a big barn. A lot of fresh food, prepared foods, and I think we're learning a lot from that format, and a lot to come going forward. We cover about 18.7 million square feet of space in 10 states. We have 336 stores, again, under the 4 banners. So that's a little bit about the territory in which we cover, heavily concentrated in the Northeast. What's our go-to-market strategy? We have an Omni-Channel approach. We still are a traditional supermarket, and believe it or not, print is still alive at ShopRite. We know that it's a declining advertising outlet, but we still produce 10.2 million circulars a week for our customers, and that is still the main driver of our promotional volume. What's growing, obviously, that we talked about being the 5th largest online retailer is the fact that our online sales are significant. The one thing that's unique, and I'll get back to the community aspect and the fact that our stores are more family oriented, but 80% of our online customers still shop our brick and mortar stores, and that's important because brick and mortar, the survival of brick and mortar is critical to our infrastructure. What else is unique is that 25% of our customers are use their mobile phones to shop, so that goes right back to what Tracy discussed earlier. So I think that ties in very nicely. So what's an example of our online approach? And I've used this example before, but I like to use it because it really illustrates our capabilities. And so I'll give an example of Digital Danielle. So this is a typical customer, and all the options that she may have at her disposal throughout the course of the week. So Danielle can go online. If you look from left all the way around, going clockwise, she can view the circular. She can load items to her shopping cart from the circular. We also we're able to send specialized offers that are specific to Danielle's needs. So if Danielle uses Tide, we can ping her with a Tide discount for that week. So she has that capability. Danielle then get mobile alerts if she's in aisle through our online app that will alert her to deals that may be available while she's in the store. So we have those capabilities in our stores as well. And while Danielle is searching her social media sites, we can also connect with her through there, obviously with her approval, so we can have helpful hints or tips in terms of recipe tips for Danielle as she goes from site to site. When Danielle's all ready, in terms of looking at the online site, loading things to her cart, she's loaded her personalized coupon offers, she can now choose within delivery or pickup. And we have one of the most robust delivery or pickup systems that's available across retail outlets. What's interesting about Danielle, once she picks up her food, or whether it's delivered or pickup, Danielle can now give a phone call to her mom in Texas, and she may tell mom that, hey mom, there's a great sale on organic kale or anything that may be available in the store at ShopRite, and Danielle's mother from Texas can order, and we can deliver now to Texas. And Texas, actually, what's interesting, it's our 7th ranked state in terms of ShopRite delivers. So when you think about the Omni-Channel approach, not only do we have a solid infrastructure with our brick and mortar, but we now have the ability to move with our digital consumer wherever she is along that journey, including out of state. So that just shows the capabilities that we have and we continue to build at. But that's not really what makes us special. What makes us special is the fact that our customers trust us to be that community store. So we have to know the community better than anyone else. And when we ask our shoppers what they expect of a ShopRite, it's more than they would expect of anyone, including a Best Buy or any other retail outlet, because they trust in us to be the store of the community that they can trust, to know them better than anyone else. And we'll do whatever it takes to deliver exactly what their needs are, to nourish them and take care of their families. And that's what what the customers expect of ShopRite. And that's kind of getting to why we think it's so important for us to make sure that we're in tune with our manufacturer community, so that as you bring items to market that really connect with the consumer, that we can have them on our shelves to make sure that we're engaging in our communities. What's interesting about the ShopRite, and for many of you that have called on us, you may or may not know this, no two stores are alike. We're a co-op. We're owned by 50 families, and it's a very unique equation. I always say I have 50 bosses, because if something happens in the morning, I know about it in the afternoon, and sometimes I have to answer to many different owners. But that's our secret weapon, the fact that our owners are in the community, they're part of the fabric. They have generations passed down in terms of ownership. That really is what makes us uniquely different than any other retailer, and I think positions us to be extremely profitable and successful going forward. So a little bit about why we exist as an organization, and this is getting to the heart of the conversation today. You want to partner with retailers that genuinely care about the community. And when you think about ShopRite and why ShopRite exists, we have a very simple purpose statement that really defines who we are. And that really is to care deeply about people, helping them to eat well and be happy. And that's a very powerful statement when you break it down. You know, when you think about, we don't only care for our customers, but we care deeply for our customers. And it's the fact that we have to know them better than anyone else because, you know, they place a lot of trust in us to be that community store that takes care of them, that nourishes them and their family. And that's why it's so critical that historically these small brands that our customers would leave us for and go to other outlets, we felt that we were doing them a disservice and letting them down when you think about caring deeply. So that's why it's so important to open up this dialogue with this team. Eating well, you know, that's a commitment that we've really taken to heart. It really is about making sure that our consumers have choices. So yes, you can have Oreo cookies, but we've also added over 130 dietitians to help you down a path to wellness if you so choose to take better care of your health. And if you choose to have that Oreo cookie, you know, we'll say eat it in stages, or certainly you can go ahead and have it, but we want to make sure that we offer choices. The one thing we are not, our customers have told us we do not have the license to tell them what to do. So that is not our goal. Our goal is to make sure that we're moving with our shoppers wherever they are and whatever their family needs are, that's what we're there to help them with. Help them with choices and making sure we have options for them. And then being happy. And this is one of the newer efforts that you're finding with us is the fact that we're trying to create inspiring brick-and-mortar environments. Because what we're realizing is that, and customers have said this time and time again, when they look at their health and beauty portfolio, they don't want it to look like the same shelf or system that they buy soup on. And that's a direct quote from one of our shoppers. So we want to make sure that we're creating inspiring environments, educationally driven environments, and I think you'll see that in our new formats that are opening up. We just had a store that opened not too long ago in Newark. You'll see a video on that shortly. But even our latest formats are amazing. And if you get a chance, you should certainly get out there and take a look at them. So it's really, really special. So that brings us to the discussion today is around the beauty consumer and really why we're having this conversation. I think obviously, clearly over the last 75 years, I think we've come to a place where we want to build a beauty business, and we realize that we're going to need to make sure that we have a portfolio that's very reflective of the community. And beauty, when you look at OTC, the OTC category, it's easy to say an Advil is an Advil, so if somebody has a pain and they're taking Advil, that's fine. But when you look across the beauty portfolio, it's a very connected with the consumer, emotional purchase, inspiring purchase, and clearly you have to have the right portfolio. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we have a portfolio that reflects the community and is moving with the shopper. So with that, I'm going to pass this on to Neetu, who will take us into some ideas in terms of how we're starting to reach that consumer.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is Neetu Aneja. I am the category manager for skincare and cosmetics, and I also manage our beauty advisor program. So just going to start with what Amanda and I look for in partners for beauty. So one of the things we look for is innovation, and innovation doesn't have to be new technology. It could be new ideas, opportunity gaps, stuff that we're missing that we need to get on track with or catch up to the market with. And then also insights. So insights is key for us, bringing information to us about what's going on in the market. You guys are brand ambassadors for your brands and your companies. So to come back to us and say, Amanda, Neetu, this is what we see in the market. We think you have an opportunity here, or you're missing this segment in this category. We'd love to get that information. And then collaboration. So we highly value partnerships. We all want your brand to win. We want our consumer to be happy. So by collaborating, you guys are helping us to basically sell your brand at our stores and connect with our consumers. And I would say the biggest thing for Amanda and I is purpose. So Chris referenced this before, it's letting us know what your story is and what the purpose of your brand is. So if you are able to communicate that to Amanda and I, we can then make your brand come to life at ShopRite through our circular and store events, and then we can work together and collaborate, like I mentioned before, to kind of bring that story to our consumers. So just wanted to give you guys an example of something we did with Unilever around purpose. So Unilever came, we had a meeting. They were telling me about a healing project campaign that they were doing. So for every Vaseline that was bought, they donate a specific amount to help people in poverty or in crisis. So immediately I knew that this was something we had to get all over. So this was something where, they shared their story, they told us their purpose, and we jumped all over it. So we brought this to life at a ShopRite. So what we did was we got all over it with our circular. We talked about how ShopRite supports, the Vaseline Healing Project. We got our beauty advisors involved. They did events in store. And just to show how much this resonated with our community, we did the same exact ad the year prior with no purpose, so no donation, and we saw a 75% sales increase. So just to show that when we do something like this, our customers really resonate with giving back to the community. And Unilever is obviously a bigger brand, but I think every brand has their story and every brand has a purpose. So it's just a matter of communicating that to me and Amanda so that we can help you bring that story to life at ShopRite. So something else around insights. So we partnered with L'Oreal, and they brought us a ton of insights on cosmetics. And they went store by store and looked at our demographics. So again, looking at the community store by store, making sure we have the right portfolio for every single store based on their demographics. So a few years ago, we used to just have the top 4 brands, the core brands, so the Revlon, L'Oreal, Maybelline, CoverGirl. And with these insights, we realized we were missing a lot of the smaller brands in our sets that cater to specific demographics. So one example was Milani, who caters to the Hispanic consumer. We didn't have that in many stores, and we have a ton of stores who have a highly Hispanic population. So things like that we were able to see that we were missing. Physicians Formula, another one, where it's more of a natural consumer. So we are looking at the smaller brands now. We want to make sure that, we are catering to consumers in every demographic. So even though you guys, if you don't have a big brand, we still want to know your story. We want to know how you would help our consumer be happy, how you can help, give our customer what they're looking for. So definitely an opportunity there as well. And now Amanda will take you through a few more examples with what we're doing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Hoffman, and I'm the new hair care category manager. I'm coming over from the health side of our department, so becoming part of beauty has been a fun adventure so far. But something that really surprised me when I first took over was learning that hair care it has so many different segments, and depending on the solution or need you're looking for, you could be going down several different aisles. For example, if you're a natural hair care purchaser versus a pro hair buyer, you could be going down 2 separate aisles. So within the hair care category, we have 5 different segments. So your regular mainstream items like Pantene, Hispanic, ethnic like Shea Moisture, pro hair, brands such as Redken, and even natural. And so I realized we haven't been fair to our shopper. We've made it difficult and a little bit confusing for them to shop their hair care needs regardless of the solution or type they're looking for. So in 2017, and as I start to take over hair care, I've made a pledge to make shopping hair care easier and less confusing for our shoppers. And not only are we going to be looking into making everything a little more cohesive and in one aisle, but we understand the necessity to make sure that each store has the assortment that's relevant to them, for their community, and their shoppers. Already we're seeing some of the fastest growth come actually from our categories that we don't have a focus on right now. So imagine the possibilities when there's more focus onto these smaller segments and the decisions that go into the assortment within each of these segments and making sure that each store has the right assortment for them. So as a new buyer for this category, I'm hungry for knowledge on emerging brands within each hair care segment. I want to hear about brands with grassroots. Grassroots is huge because these are the brands that I find that have true passion behind why they exist, why they're relevant and important to their customers. Innovation also doesn't have to necessarily be a new item, as Neetu was saying before, but it could be a new idea or something that we're missing here at ShopRite. A great example of this is Shea Moisture. So this is a brand that went from $0 sales to $5 million sales in just 1 year. Now, it's been an existing item for years, but a major gap for ShopRite. So as soon as we brought it in, we realized how much our customers wanted and were looking for it. And one of the best ways for us as buyers to absorb this information is through these ECRM events where we can go and begin the collaboration process. And as Neetu was saying before, collaboration really isn't negotiable here. We need it to survive and exist. We realize that nothing gets accomplished to its full potential unless everyone comes together. So we've had great category success on our healthcare side of the business when we collaborate with vendors, and not just in-store, but outside of the store as well. So whether we're building parks and playgrounds, there's been some very exciting things that we've done with the community. But for hair care, it's going to be a 1+ year journey. So ECRM will be the manufacturer exploration kickoff, I'm calling it, but we will be hosting monthly project meetings on top of that to make sure we're on track and staying relevant with what the hair care consumer is looking for. And when we do collaborate, we will bring experts from each area. So not only will we have brand ambassadors and representation, but we also know that it's important to have experts when it comes to merchandising the product and having insights behind the brands. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Neetu to explain to you a little bit of how we make this all come together in the store. It's a boutique program that we're very proud of, and I'll let Neetu talk more about that.
Thank you, Amanda. So we do currently have a beauty advisor program. So we currently have 15 beauty advisors, and like Amanda said, this kind of ties everything together. So the program is in its initial stages. It is growing though. So this is where, the beauty advisors represent your brands in our store. So the more we can communicate, again, your purpose, your brand, and your story to the beauty advisors, the more they can pass that along to our customers. So beauty in general is a very complicated category, as most of you know. So we want to help our consumer as much as we can. We want to simplify the process for her. We need someone there to help her. So if she needs guidance or advice, someone's there, just like a Sephora or an Ulta. If she wants to try a specific, let's say, foundation or skincare item or hair, the beauty advisor is there to help. So we want to make it easier for them. Our vendors that are part of the program now, they're able to train our beauty advisors. So they come in, they explain their brand, they explain their purpose to our beauty advisors, and then they in turn give that back to the consumers. So definitely a program that we are very proud of, a program that's growing, and this just adds to our overall purpose of caring deeply for our consumers.
So it's great, and thanks Neetu and Amanda. It's great that we have an effort in health and beauty, but it really takes the entire store, and it takes our members that are committed to this journey. And a great example of that is the ShopRite of Newark and the owner, Neil Greenstein, that opened that store. It took a lot of courage to go into the city of Newark. It's generally an area that most retailers would shy away from, but he took on that challenge. And his commitment was he wanted to build a store that rivaled the best store in the country. And
today we're here cutting a ribbon for ShopRite. I could come to Springfield Avenue in the Central Ward of the city of Newark to the best supermarket in this state. At this supermarket, you can get good food and shake your neighbor's hand at the same time.
This is for all the people of the city of Newark. And we're so proud that there are 250 people working here that live in Newark.
We are committed to making sure food deserts in New Jersey, especially in our urban areas, are at an end.
It's more than just building a store. To us, it's really about change. and really kind of doing something positive in the community and really bringing jobs, bringing good food to people who otherwise didn't have access to good food.
The store is vital because it brings a number of things to the community. Not only does it bring access to healthy and nutritious foods, it creates jobs.
Good morning, welcome to Newark ShopRite.
But to be able to come back and lead the charge and run a place like this where you're bringing nutritional value to the customers and you're bringing it to them at a fair price, it really makes you feel good.
I've been a resident for 8 years. I've been in cake business all my life. I'm obsessed with cupcakes. I just love the baking process, period. It's actually convenient because I live right down the road.
It's one of the most state-of-the-art urban food desert stores in the country. And we just couldn't be prouder of the work he did and what we were able to do to help him accomplish this. It's a miracle. This store is going to have a health clinic, it's going to have a pharmacy, and it's going to have a lot of other services to help people with their life, make their life better.
People have an opportunity to get advice if they want to learn more about nutrition with our dietitian.
Providing healthy food options and opportunities to check your health at the same time. It's a wonderful match.
We're going to have a full medical clinic that will have a nurse on staff and a doctor on staff. We actually have 2 exam rooms. I'm telling you, when you're in the medical clinic, you don't even know you're in a supermarket.
It's going to be a definitely plus for all of us in the city of Newark. And health-wise, to stimulate and give us more knowledge of medication. It's definitely a blessing from God Almighty.
When you look at the supermarket here today, you'll find halal, you'll find international departments, you'll find a lot of foods and a lot of items that are brought here because that's what the community asked for.
Being part of a community, no matter what community you're in, it's important to remember to not just take from the community, but to be part of it and responsible to give back.
A supermarket like this in Newark with the halal section means that it is catering for the whole of Newark. They can get their halal products and get all the other things that they need to get at one place, which is really great.
On many levels, I think this is a wonderful thing for the community because it's no better than having a supermarket dealing with food that elevates the sense of community.
I never ever expected to see a supermarket done like this one is done. And I think this supermarket is going to affect a lot of people in a very positive way.
We didn't want to build an inner city supermarket. We really built a market here that kind of rivals any market anywhere.
We call ourselves the supermarket with the heart. What that means is that every decision that we make, we put our employees and our customer first.
And we will now be a present piece of the community in Newark forever.
Wow. So this is only just one example of one store and one owner. We have 49 other owners who are just as passionate about their communities. So I want to talk to you all about some benefits of ECRM. And I'm looking forward to hearing all of your stories when I meet you at the Hair Care ECRM event in the early summer, just to see how they would be relevant to our communities. ECRM, again, is a great show. We've gotten so many useful brands and information and insights from them. It's great to give us some face time. The collaboration piece is key. Category trends and insights, and just seeing all the new innovations is really a wonderful experience. So I just want to put up quickly some of the events that we are attending, my peers and I. Just leave that for a little moment in case you want to write any down. And this covers both our health buyers as well as our beauty buyers within the division. Okay, so I want to thank you all for your time and open the floor up to questions now. So back to you, Joe.
Okay, great. Thank you, Amanda, and the Wakefern team. Anybody who's interested in reaching out or connecting with Wakefern at our ECRM EPPS meetings, I have up on the screen, you'll see the contact information of Lisa Carrillo. So you could reach out to her, and she can get you all set up. We'll also have her information in the follow-up email after the webcast. So great. Now we're going to jump into the Q&A, and we have a bunch of questions that have come in. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to try and get to as many as we can live, and then anything we can't get to during this live webcast, we'll try and reach out to you following the event with an answer. So I'd like to start off. I have a quick question of myself because this is a topic that has been discussed during some of our EPPS meetings, and you touched on helping these beauty brands tell their brand story through the beauty advisors, and I was wondering if you're also working through social media as well to help these brands that you collaborate with tell their brand stories to the consumers of the various Wakefern retail stores.
So we absolutely use social media. You know, we know social media is huge right now, especially in beauty, especially with bloggers and vloggers. So we try and use, the bloggers and vloggers as much as we can. So with our Beauty Advisor program, we also are going to start having a beauty tip of the week starting our new fiscal, so 10/2. You'll see a beauty tip every single week. And with that, that's going to be a 360 approach. So our beauty advisors will focus on that in store, promote the tip, talk about the tip, on what you could do with it. And then also our social media team is going to be very engaged with those tips. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they're going to be all over it. They're going to come in and, take videos of the event in store. So we're definitely looking at social media. So for all the brands that have those fun and creative clips to kind of tell your story, that's something we all definitely ask for and look for.
Yeah, just to add to what Neetu said, again, we still produce 10.2 million circulars every week. And historically, the health and beauty ad was a wellness ad at the top where pharmacy led, and then you had the portfolio. The last few months, we've switched to a new format. That's a beauty format where beauty drives the essence of the ad. And I think when you compare it to maybe drug or beauty supply stores, you may say, wow, that's not that different. But when you think about, if you look at a ShopRite health and beauty circular this week or 2 weeks ago or next week, you'll say that for a supermarket to dedicate so much space to beauty, that's a big change. And I think we're going to continue to see that unfold more next year, where we're going to go to a split where we're actually going to have 2 pages, where one page is going to be completely dedicated to health, and the second page is going to be completely dedicated to beauty. Because we still think that there's shoppers that are in the store, they're just not walking down the aisle, and those are easy shoppers to engage, and we think the circular is a means of doing that. But when it comes to digital, Danielle, all those capabilities are there for beauty as well, and we take full advantage of them with our manufacturer partners.
And in terms of social media, the best examples are ones that are relevant specifically to our ShopRite customers. So it wouldn't just be necessarily reposting what your brand is already doing, but how do we take what your brand is doing and tie it into ShopRite to make it more relevant to our shoppers?
Gotcha. And do your stores, you mentioned since you have 50 owners of the different retail stores, do they have their own social media platforms, or do you have one centralized one, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. Each member has their own Facebook sites and so on and so forth, as well as there's a Wakefern ShopRite site. And
to tie into that, when a beauty advisor is doing, so they do their workshops in stores, so when they do that, each specific Facebook, so each owner will go on their Facebook and they promote it on their Facebook. So it's more local for the community, and it ties in better to the community that way as well.
Great. I have another question here that, again, like the first one, this is something that's talked about a lot at our beauty EPPS meetings, and that's regarding natural and organic beauty products. What's Wakefern's position on organic and natural beauty products, and how do they apply across the various demographics of the markets that you serve?
So right now, as Amanda mentioned with hair, natural health and beauty is in a separate set, and not even every store carries natural. So we know that natural and organic is obviously a growing segment. It's growing in the market. It's growing at ShopRite. So what we are trying to do is integrate natural into the main set. So you'll be seeing natural skincare going into the skincare set. Amanda's going to work on her huge project, and that incorporates natural as well. So we see the growth in natural, and we know how important it is to our consumers, and we're going to make sure, again, by community, the right products are in our set. So the integration process is starting. We don't want it to be separate from, where skincare is, where hair care is. So we are starting to bring that together.
And we think that natural ethnic is becoming more mainstream. So for us to leave ethnic or natural in its own section, it's now causing confusion with shoppers because they expect it to be with where everyone else is shopping for their hair care needs.
So there was another question that's kind of related, and you partially answered that. On the multicultural hair care side, do your sections, so the part that you answered, do your sections reflect the demographics of the neighborhoods they serve? So are you bringing them all into the main set, or is it going to be different depending on the different areas?
Well, Joe, I'll take a stab at that. That's a large part of why we're having this conversation today. Those sets, outside of the main set for hair care, the other 4 sets, Hispanic, African American, natural, and pro, is largely handled by distributors for us. And it's not that the portfolio that's in our stores are wrong, but they're just not as tailored as we would think they should be because we don't fully own that process. And that's why we're really reaching out to the manufacturers on this call to say, you may be with one of our distributors in those areas, but we want to know your story because our go-forward strategy is to have one planogram flow. That's right now the idea or the thought is going to be for hair care is going to be the general hair flows into semi-pro, then flow into multicultural, then flows into natural, then flows into pro hair, and it's all going to be one aisle. Today, that could be anywhere from 32 to 90 feet of hair care, depending on the store. So now you're thinking about the portfolio that represents multicultural, natural, and pro, the knowledge about the brands and the brands' reach with the consumers, we just don't have that. That largely sat on the distributor side. And what we're pleading to the folks on the phone is to help educate us on what is the right portfolio, what are the right brands, by telling us about your brands so we can make sure that when we put these sets together in 2017, we're getting the right brands in the right communities. So that's a big effort for us, and it's one that many talk about, but very few have been able to carry it out in this way.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that. What about private brands? What role do private brands play in your beauty assortments?
Well, that's interesting because we ask our customers this question, and the one thing that comes back to us, value is important to our shoppers. The branded portfolio is very, very relevant on the OTC side. So when someone is taking a ShopRite aspirin, they want to make sure they know that they have the confidence and the backing of an organization that says, this is good for me, and this is a credible item for me to take. So they expect the branded OTC side of the business. I think what they're saying on the beauty side is that this is more of an emotional purchase, and connecting with a brand that means something to them may not necessarily have to have the ShopRite name on it. So we're going through a process right now to say, what is that beauty brand that we can bring to life that's unique to our ShopRite consumers that may or may not reflect the way that we position the ShopRite name today. So it could be XYZ by ShopRite or XYZ no ShopRite. And we have a design team that's going through that process right now for our beauty portfolio. But that's one of our strategic objectives for relaunching our private brands across the entire store. The beauty portfolio is in that, along with our natural organic launch as well.
Great, thanks. I have a timing question here from a supplier. what is the review schedule for skin, hair, and bath, and when are the new planograms available in store?
So skincare is actually, right now is a great time to come to me with skincare. The reset's going to be in November. So if you guys have anything, obviously definitely reach out to me. I think bath is going to happen. I'm not the bath category manager, but I believe it'll happen in January or February. And then hair care, I think it's going to be December or January as well. So definitely right now is the right time to reach out to us. Like we all of us have said, just tell us your story, and we'd love to work with you guys to see if we can bring you guys into our stores.
Okay, great, thanks. I have another one about the relationship between the stores to corporate, and that is, are all the stores required to carry the products, or can each store make their own decisions as to what to carry? How does that work?
So that's the beauty of the co-op, is the fact that the stores aren't required to do anything. It's the partnership, it's the trust. The one thing that the stores have in the Wakefern name is that they trust that we have the talented team. We do the research to make sure that what we recommend to them is right for their community. And what's unique about that, you may or may not know, that we have a committee structure where we have a large percent of our store ownership represented by each committee. So Floral has a committee, Produce has a committee, Grocery has a committee that's made up of owners, HBC has a committee that's made up of owner and staff. And all 3,500 items every year in our portfolio, that's roughly the amount of new SKUs we present every year, has to be approved by that committee. So when you think about connecting your brand with the buyer, the category manager, and having them tell your story, it's even more critical, because it's not just a sell to the category manager, but you have to sell to the category manager, and then that category manager has to sell to the store. And the better that you can connect with them, the better they can connect your brand with the stores. Now, we have a high stick rate for item success in terms of getting them into stores, because we have the trust, and certainly our sales growth of 7+ over the last 4 or 5 years has helped to do that. And our growth comes from the fact that we are largely focused on the shopper, and although item and price is important, that's second to the consumer. It's really how do we bring the portfolio to the consumer that matters, and of course our pricing has to be right, and the portfolio has to be right.
Okay, great. I have a follow-up question from the private label question I asked before, and that's what is the current timeline for the rollout of the private brands for hair, skin, and cosmetics?
So the private, if you're talking about the name is it's to be determined. We have an outside agency that's still helping us with the name, and then there's going to be a timeline process that's put in place to convert the current beauty portfolio. What I would say with private label is our private label follows the brand strategy. So if there's a private label or an idea about a private label, certainly we will try to launch it when we launch the major brands, but there is no specific time frame for new or trendy items that may be available. There is a lengthy process of going through our lab and passing the lab, and then going through print labels. So that can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So that comes into play as well. But if you have an idea around a private label that connects with the consumer or brings a unique value to the consumer that was not there before, we're always open to look at that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. That's all the time that we have for the Q&A. Again, we will try and get responses to anybody whose questions we've missed. If you would like anybody in the audience would like additional information about how to meet with Wakefern buyers at one of ECRM's EPPS meetings, you could visit ecrm.marketgate.com. We'll also have our contact information in a follow-up email sent to you with a link to the on-demand version of this webcast. I'd like to thank Chris, Neetu, and Amanda from Wakefern, and Tracy from MarketTrack for their great presentations. And again, thank you, MarketTrack, for sponsoring the webcast, and a big thanks for all of you in the audience. Have a great afternoon.